Welcome to the Ride With Us podcast, presented by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, the world's largest ride enthusiast organization dedicated to the appreciation, promotion, and preservation of roller coasters around the globe. So please keep your hands and feet inside the podcast at all times as we welcome in your host.
Hello, enthusiasts! It's your host, Jessica Gardner. ACE is more than just a coaster club. As the voiceover says at the end of every podcast, ACE is a charitable organization. We are a 501c3 dedicated to the preservation as well as the appreciation and promotion of roller coasters and the safe enjoyment of roller coasters around the globe. Once a year, we celebrate the preservation work that we do at parks that we recognize as having similar goals to us, or parks that we know we want to draw attention to at our preservation conference. And this year, it was so much fun. We held a 3-day weekend event at 3 parks in Missouri and Iowa: Lost Island Theme Park, Adventureland, and Worlds of Fun. I went, and I have some friends here who also went, and we are going to tell you all about it. First, please welcome back to the podcast, Communications Director Gerik Perry. Hi, Derek.
Hey, I'm excited to be here to talk to you about Preservation Conference.
And please welcome ACE Social Media Manager Doug Perry.
Hi, Jessica.
And please welcome to the podcast for the first time, Gerik Gooch. Hi, Gerik.
Hi, Jessica. Hey, Derek. Hey, Doug. Glad to be here with you guys.
It's so great to have you on here. We have to introduce you to everybody who's listening so they can all get to know you a little more. We met for the first time at the opening of Air Force One in Georgia, right?
Yes, that's correct. Last March.
Last March. Oh, that was, what an amazing day that was.
Oh my gosh. Was it ever?
Where are you from? You're from Georgia, right? Or you
not originally. I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. So I was more in the Northeast. I grew up, going to parks like Great Adventure and Dorney Park and down to King's Dominion. But yes, I live in Atlanta now. So I am in the Atlanta area, Decatur technically, but that's just kind of on the outskirts of Atlanta.
Well, that must have been a really exciting day for you, especially.
Exactly. Yes, it was wonderful because that is one of my home parks. And we really couldn't believe that they were opening such a mind-blowing $19 million roller coaster at a family amusement park,
So what got you into roller coasters in the first place?
Well, I don't know. I was, I loved coasters from when I was a kid. I guess I just took to them. I didn't have a lot of fear for some things like that. So I tried them early on and I loved it. I actually gave the high school the commencement address at my high school. And part of my speech was telling the story of the first time that I loved that moment on a roller coaster.
No way.
I remember that as being Scooby-Doo's Ghoster Coaster at King's Dominion. Okay. Little family Woody, right?
I love it. Yes.
And I remember we going down the drop and hitting that first hill, and I came up out of my seat. Of course, the feeling that we all love as enthusiasts of airtime, right? And I came out of my seat, and I remember my dad was sitting next to me. He reached over, with the dad arm to try and hold me in, like, oh boy, and he looked at me kind of like, okay, is he okay with this? Was he scared? And I was laughing and smiling, and that was it. It was like from then on, I'm like, I love roller coasters. We have to go to more amusement parks. And so I had parents who were great with like summer vacations. They were like, hey, as long as you keep doing well in school, we are happy to do vacations every summer and hit these amusement parks. So I got to travel a lot and do some amazing things as a kid. And I didn't even know what a roller coaster enthusiast was at that time, but that's what I was. I knew the manufacturers and I knew about Ron Toomer and Arrow. And, I remember my dad coming home from a business trip and bringing a magazine. This is dating the times. Bringing home a page that he had ripped out of a magazine on the plane. And it was an interview with Ron Toomer, the designer from Aerodynamics, who had just opened a new coaster at Cedar Point called Magnum XL 200.
Wow.
And boy, I was like, and my parents knew that park. They lived in Michigan for a few years before raising me in Delaware. And so they knew Cedar Point well. They're like, oh yeah, Cedar Point's a great amusement park. And so I was like, well, we must go there. We have to go. I have to ride this Magnum XL 200. So yeah, that was my journey. I did lots of parks as a kid. I took several years off, kind of like in my 20s, and when I was in college, didn't do anything. And then I got back into it, heavily, I would say in 2016, when I was living in New York City. I'm a filmmaker, so I was living and working in the film industry there in New York.
Yes, we have that in common.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And yeah, I started traveling then, and that was when I first found out about enthusiast clubs through ACE. ACE was the first club I found out about. I really liked the mission of the club, and I went to my first event at Busch Gardens Tampa in November of 2016, and man, I just loved it. I just felt like such a VIP in a place that made me happy. I was like, wow, it's like they love me as much as I love them. It was wonderful to have those benefits and to have ERT for the first time and to get to go behind the scenes on different things. And since then, it's just been a whirlwind journey of meeting other enthusiasts, traveling with clubs, going to events, and building up that coaster count.
Yeah, you were just telling me about some international trips that you've taken over the past 3 years too.
Yes.
You have a bucket list still of places that you haven't been?
Well, I'm excited right now to go to Japan next year. So that's the big plan for 2025. It's a trip to Japan.
That's my bucket list too.
Oh man, I'm really.
We should talk. Right,
I'm very, very excited to go to Japan. But yeah, I've had some great trips to Europe. I didn't even plan to go to Europe this year, as I was just telling you. It just popped up. It's that Thuzy life. Somebody called me and told me that, hey, I'm going to Portaventura for a few days. And I was like, what are the dates? He's like, why would you go? Oh, I don't know. Let me check the flights. And shockingly, yes, found cheaper flights than I've ever seen to Europe during that week. And I was like, I'm coming. I'm going. So I did a quick little trip to Germany earlier this year. Got to ride Voltron Nevera as a brand new, I think it was the 6th operating day.
Wow.
What an amazing experience at what I think is probably the best theme park in the world.
Really? Bold statement. Bold statement.
Bold statement. I think I'm willing to say that with the addition of Voltron, that Europa Park is maybe the best theme park in the world. I think it's really beautiful. Had a great time there the two times that I've been. So yeah, I'm excited with the world travels. I love it. And I've kind of become like the travel planner for a lot of my friends and my gang,
It happens. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And you're a member of the Blusiasts, right?
That's correct.
Tell everyone about that.
So the Blusiasts isn't an official club yet. There has been some talks from fans of us doing that, so that's a possibility for the future. But right now we're just like a social club, and we're just trying to bring awareness to as many riders of color as possible. We do at least one big event each year. Every summer in 22, like I said, we did King's Dominion in Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Last summer in 23, we did at my stomping grounds. We did Six Flags Over Georgia and Fun Spot Atlanta. And next summer, based on the votes of our fans on social media, we'll be organizing an event for Busch Gardens Tampa. So, yes, we're excited about that.
And where can people find you?
People can find us on socials. So you can find us at The Blusiast on Facebook, The Blusiast on Instagram. Anyone is welcome to find me personally. That's Gerik Gooch. It's Gerik Gooch on Instagram. Send us a message. We love to see you. We're excited that we see more and more faces at each of our events. We actually just did a secondary event recently in August at Cedar Point and had a great day. So we're excited. We're growing, and we want to bring everybody out and just have a good time and show them that diversity in the parks is fun.
That's also something that we're talking about a lot in ACE too. And yes. I hope that people who are Blusiasts and want to come over and join ACE, there's a place for you here as well. And that's something that we want to promote also. So thank you for talking to us about that. I think it is an important topic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I
Happy to do it. And I do always encourage my fellow Blusiasts to come to the events of ACE. And I think we got more and more that are kind of warming up to the idea, like, okay, maybe, like I said, I think a lot of what was great about Blusiasts is it brought some people out of their shell who, like I said, they didn't know where their comfort spot was. And I'm telling them, I said the same thing. You have a place in ACE. So trust me.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So let's get in to PresCon, Preservation Con, or as we were affectionately calling it while we were there, Corn Con, because Iowa and Missouri. I think that the best way to cover this weekend is to really just start from the beginning and go all the way through. We started the weekend on a Friday at Lost Island Theme Park. Derek, tell us a little bit about the history of Lost Island for people who may not have heard of it.
Lost Island Theme Park is in Waterloo, Iowa, and it was started by the Bertch family, and the Bertch family actually started the Lost Island Water Park back in 2001, and then they decided to have a theme park. So down the road, they came up with the idea of having a theme park themed to different lost worlds, and that idea came about in 2016, and groundbreaking started in 2019. The park actually opened in 2022, so this is the third season that it was open, and we're so happy to be able to visit. And they have 3 roller coasters. 2 of the roller coasters came from other parks. Their Vekoma suspended looping coaster came from South Africa, and the Intamin coaster Matugani, which opened last year, came from Leesburg in Sweden. So connecting the preservation conference with the preservation that they've done, they've been saving roller coasters, which is really cool.
I love that. And I have to throw in a shout out to the Bertch family too, because first of all, you walk into this park, which is basically brand new, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, a super new park, and it's spotless. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. And the people who are there greeting us, I come to find out later, are the family members of the Bertches. Like, all of the Bertch family is there passing out muffins, coffee. The coffee, I have to talk about the coffee, because they hired like local Iowa coffee company to come into the park. Like, they were telling me that everything, all the food and the vendors and the things that are sold in the park are from local Iowa companies, which I just loved. And just everywhere, it just had this sort of sense of family. They were giving out, if you filled out something about like a form about yourself, like a personality quiz, you got matched with a character from the park, and they gave you a free pin of that character. And the person who gave that to me was Becky Bertch, like the wife of Gary Bertch, who started the park. I mean, it was just such a warm, wonderful, like, family atmosphere. Did anybody else get that sense when they first walked in?
Absolutely. It's a very thoughtful park, as you're alluding to. They really thought about all of the details, and I love that. I didn't even know that like their purveyors were local. I mean, that's just a fantastic sustainable business practice, right? That they are really trying to build their community, as well as have an amazing place for amusement and entertainment. I was really impressed, just like you said.
I love what you said there about it being well thought out, because I thought that the legend of the different lands, Udara, and all these Locolo and Matugani and the
Locolo.
Amara, brand new. Like, you should learn how to pronounce this and
Right.
learn about this park's the legend and the history that they've sort of created for the park. I loved that. They even had, I have to bring this up, because this was something after getting the pin and checking out the lands, I just wanted to understand a little bit more. And I went into the gift shop, and because someone had told me you could buy, I was Udara. I got Udara. So I went to look at the Udara merch and just see, now I feel strongly connected to this character of the park, this land. And when I'm there, someone introduced me to Realm Rascals, which were basically these little squishmallows that they had that were specific to Lost Island, that come in these little tradable eggs that were so cute. And you get one, you don't know what it's going to be. It's like a mystery. And then people were trading them throughout the park. And I knew exactly who this was right for. And I ran into Jeff and Jess Nemec, my friends who I hung out with at Legoland, who traded Legos all day long. And I said, you guys are going to need to hear about this. And I told them about it. It was all over. They spent the rest of the day going around.
That's awesome.
Trading. Shout out to Jeff and Jess. They so got into this. They had ones. Everybody was trying to get the Matugani one. I really wanted the Volcanu bat, which I ended up trading for. I had a great time. But anyway, just the theme, just for a park to open and immediately be so focused on it being a theme park and being so friendly and clean. I loved this.
Yeah, that's impressive. You don't often see family-owned attractions that put that much time and attention into theming and storytelling. So it was definitely a surprise, a welcome one.
And the whole app that they have where you can go on an adventure and a treasure hunt through the park. Yeah, like what other parks have that, especially a family-owned park.
Right. Doug, talk to us a little bit about the coasters that are there and the attractions. Did you get a chance to ride everything?
Yeah, and that was actually our third time. Derek and I had been there the past 3 years in a row. We love it so much. The first year we went because it had first opened, and then the second year, Matugani and the log ride, the Flume, they were opened. And then this year, of course, for Preservation Conference. And we'll be back next year for their new coaster. So, yeah, they have a great selection of rides. I love, my favorite ride there, I would say. I do love what are those called? The Amuri Flyers or
Amara Aviators.
Amara Aviators.
Aviators, yeah. That Gerstlauer flat ride is one of my favorites. Trying to spin as many times as I can. Derek got how many did you get? I ended up getting 29. They had a competition at the beginning of the day during exclusive ride time, and they kept track of how many times people rolled over. And the first time I got one roll. I was barely able to get one roll. But later on in the day, this woman was in line with us, and she gave the good advice of first you have to get a seat on the left side there are 2 seats on the left side that's unobstructed. So you want to get those seats and then tuck your feet under your seat as much as possible. And then when you get on top, really work it to the right as hard as you can. And then once you start rolling, just lock it in place. So I almost got 30, but I was at 29 and pretty dizzy for the rest of the day.
Oh my gosh. Well, hot tips for anybody with a stomach of steel.
Right.
But if you want something that's more calm but so impressive is their Dark Ride by Sally, Dark Rides Volcano. That's just such an impressive ride. It's fun. It's the set elements, the effects, everything about it I love. And I loved that we were able to ride it as much as possible and then take the tour of it later too.
I absolutely loved Volcano. I was obsessed with it. Can we talk about those audio animatronics in the queue? And then also in the attraction itself, I was when I saw that first one, I was jaw on the floor. It was so good. Sally Dark Ride nailed it with that. But yes, let's talk about, Gerik, you want to say something?
I think that is the star of the park.
Me too.
It was for the group that I was with, for sure. We rerode that thing so many times. I don't think I've ever rerode a dark ride so many times. Like, we were so impressed with it. Like you said, the animatronics, the effects, the movie screens, the game element with the shooting. And just to add to it and show you how friendly and unique this park is, they have themed characters for the different worlds, right? And we love the ride so much that me and my friends were coming out of the ride saying, "All hail Volcano." We're like, "All hail Volcano." But the actual story of the ride is they're trying to get rid of Volcano. Volcano is the evil force that is like destroying the town. And we're running around the park going, "All hail Volcano." And all the characters are in character. They're like, no, you don't understand. Didn't you watch the pre-video? And they knew we did, but it was like, we all had a great time, just like being part of that world, like, and making fun of that. And they're like, no, you can't hail Volcano.
No, I mean, that I agree. We
loved it. We gave them lots of bonus points for being so playful with us on that. So
that's amazing. And then the maintenance tour. Did everybody do that? Because that was one of my favorite parts of the day. We started over at, it was around the Locolo area, and got to see a maintenance tour and get really up close and personal with that coaster. Speaking of that coaster, we have to give a shout out to our friends Lauren and Grace Kelly and Lauren Heller, ACE members, who
Nopuco was it Nopuco?
Was it Nopuco or Locolo? Oh no, Locolo is the kids that that's right.
Is the wacky worm.
Yeah, that's the wacky worm. You're right. Okay. Yep. Sorry, it was Nopuco.
Yeah, the Vekoma SLC.
Yeah, the Vekoma SLC. That was where the maintenance tour started. You're right.
You got it right.
It's the names, y'all.
And I probably pronounce all of them wrong.
Oh, whatever. We're close, right? We'll get it.
The pronunciation's fine. You just had the wrong name on that one.
Yeah.
I was thinking when you said, I was like, hold on, Locolo. No. I'm literally pulling up RCDB.
Nopuco. Right. That's where Grace Kelly and Lauren Heller got a ride in every single row. Shout out to them during ERT. They were running through that queue and getting it. So funny. Shout out to those ladies. And then we were underneath this coaster, getting really up close and personal with the maintenance and the maintenance area. And then I thought that would be it. And then they just kept walking us. And then they walked us through and got to see a behind the scenes of them painting their beautiful carousel horses and their different cars. And then, of course, getting the walkthrough of Volcano, Quest for the Golden Idol, with the lights on. I mean, what an incredible experience. And I had to ride it again immediately after, once it opened back up, because I needed to re-see. I can't, what did we just see? Like, it was so cool. I just absolutely loved it. So thank you so much to Lost Island for that maintenance tour. Did anybody else have any cool experiences on that?
Just the same as you. I was really impressed and glad to see how they're caring for the park. That's an important part.
And seeing the launch for Matsugani up close. I mean, we were right under it and getting to look at it. We were all just nerding out. It was so fun.
We also got to see them building some structures which they were considering using for employee residences in the future. So that was kind of neat to see. And then walking outside by the construction area where they had the sign teasing something, but we didn't know what they were teasing. Oh, that was exciting.
That was exciting. And before we get into that, did everybody go to the water park? Because I took a couple hours and went over there, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe that this park wasn't brand new. I was so impressed with how clean it was, how pristine clean it was. And the paint was beautiful. And all of the water coaster was so fun. All the slides, the lazy river. Did everybody else go?
Yes, I took a break as well that afternoon. It's a good duo, especially since they are a new theme park. And it's like we said, Lost Island's beautiful, but they don't have a ton of attractions yet. So it's really nice to have the water park right there as well. So you have both experiences in the same day. really enjoyed the water coaster. We had some good drinks over there as well.
Yeah, they've got great cabanas.
Great cabanas, yeah. So,
yeah, I thought the water coaster was so much fun, so much airtime. And the line for it moved really quickly, which I noticed a lot of the attractions at the water park, you didn't have to wait too long, which was nice.
that's a good point, because that can kind of kill a water park experience. But it was, the operations were excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Shout out to them for having such a great water park there and a great theme park. We ended the day. They gave us a wonderful buffet dinner, and the Bertch family, Gary, Eric, and Becky, were going to speak to us. And so we were able to have some microphones on them and do a little recording. And as you will be able to hear, I knew an announcement was coming. We knew something was being announced. They had sort of they had sent out a little teaser commercial about hot sauce. Did everybody watch this? And it was a little, they were dropping little hints here and there about what they might be bringing into the park. And I think we were all expecting one thing, and something else entirely different was announced. Let's drop some of that audio right here.
So, as many of you know and have been following us for several months, Kyle and our very talented marketing team have been teasing out some information about something hot that might be coming to the Murrah realm in the future. We've dropped hints about our hot sauce, which hopefully many of you have had a chance to try. You can pick it up in the gift shop on your way out. And dropping hints about what that something hot may be. Well, we are about to unveil a new ride that will be coming in 2025 that we hope you all will really enjoy.
They're about to rip off the paper here and show us some sort of visual. It looks like a coaster. A raptor!
Say hello to Firerunner. This is a real Murran competition where the athletes from the Murran realm come together once a year to brave the flames and run through a molten obstacle course in order to claim the title of Firerunner. Now, the queue is not shown on here, but it'll be a pretty amazing experience walking through sort of a festival, Olympic Village, lava tube.
So, as you heard, they announced Firerunner, a single rail RMC Raptor. Was anybody expecting this?
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. What a shock. What a surprise.
I mean, it blew my mind. I think we were thinking wild moose. I mean, that's where my head was at. I was coming up with questions that I was going to ask about a wild moose.
Yeah, I had no idea. And it was so cool that they announced it during an ACE event. I loved that.
Absolutely.
I realized, was that me? I got to break the news. Like, in media terms, I was the one that they said it to in front of all of us. I was like, wait, did my question break the news about this RMC Raptor? And suddenly it was all over the internet. It was so, what a really cool experience that they did that announcement with us there. I mean, they knew their audience. They knew that we would freak out.
It's really impressive. It was a surprise to me, just because this park is so new. They're still getting their feet under them. They're still developing their audience and getting people to come out and experience the park. And so I didn't expect them to invest heavily so quickly. And I think it's the right thing to do, though. Getting to talk to the Bertch family at that event after they made that announcement, it was clear that Gary was intent on investing in this park. It was really interesting to learn that the family had made a lot of money as one of the top manufacturers of cabinetry in the United States. right? So they're like, oh, we had a whole other career here. We had another business that was super successful. We're one of the top manufacturers, and this was how we wanted to invest our money. And so they're doing it. And so now we just got to help them get more people out to Iowa to see this amazing thing they created. And I think this RMC single rail is going to help.
It's going to do it. It's going to get us enthusiasts there. And
Hey.
not that a wild moose wouldn't get us there. That sounds fun too. But you're going to dangle an RMC Raptor in front of it? Like, okay.
Right.
I think we'll be back. What about you, Perry's?
Definitely. And the theming too, they were talking about the story behind it, and the queue is going to be themed like most of their attractions there have such great stories behind them. So I'm excited for it.
Firerunner coming May 2025, they're saying. So we'll be on the lookout for that. What an incredible first day. Now we've got to go to day 2. Day 2, Adventureland. Drove there, I think most of us did. And Derek, tell us a little bit about Adventureland for those who think it's just a land in a Disney park. It's not, is it? It's a whole theme park.
Yes, Adventureland is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, which is very impressive. And their coaster collection has grown over the years. There's so much to do there. And besides the traditional park, they also have the water park. And for the 50th anniversary, you'll probably talk a lot about what we got to experience, but there was, they definitely looked back throughout the years. There's history presentations, there's plaques and pictures of the attractions throughout the years, throughout the park. They're celebrating with a drone show this year. It was a lot going on.
Gerik, what was your day like there?
I really enjoy Adventureland. So Lost Island was a new park, but I had been to Adventureland twice before. And I was kind of thinking, I said, wow, this is a little gem here in Iowa. First thing that I'll mention, you enter the park and immediately anyone who's been to Disney World or Disneyland can immediately look and see the design influence, right? Like you walk in, I'm like, wait, is this Magic Kingdom?
I mean, the main street is basically just about a replica.
Absolutely.
Of Main Street, and they are proud of that. They are proud that that one of the designers of Disneyland came to Adventureland and said, "Yeah, okay." They then of course the pig. What's the pig's name? Oh, I can't. Petunia. Petunia the pig is this big. Right now, she's golden. Pig in the middle of the park, and there's a big sign on it that says it all started with a pig, which of course, if you're a Disney fan, it all started with a mouse, right? And there's the story of how Petunia became an icon of this park, and there's just so many fun stories about this. I could talk about the history of Adventureland for way too long. It's a really cool park that it was a little jarring for someone who had never been there and I didn't know about the main street to walk in and go, wait, what?
That's right. See, I know you're a Disney head, so I know you were surprised coming in like, wait a second, do I need my ears?
Yeah. But shout out to that. I loved that once you looked closer, you realized their Main Street, Main Street at Disneyland is about Marceline, Missouri, which is funny because that's not too far away from Adventureland, right? Mm-hmm. But this specifically, there were little businesses from all around nearby, which I thought was really cool. If you started to look closer at it, you're like, oh, wait, this is based on something that actually exists nearby here. I think that was so cool. And then of course the pig, Petunia the pig. But the pig is not their mascot. Their mascot is a dog. Yeah, right. That was right. Yeah. They've got a lot of really fun theming and a lot of cute places to take pictures. But Doug, tell us a little bit about the rides and coasters at Adventureland.
Their newest coaster is the Flying Viking, which is the Zamperla family coaster that opened last year along with their Flume. And they've got my favorite coaster at the park is the Gerstlauer Monster. And I think is that all of our favorite at the park. I mean, how can you compete with that? Such awesome elements and hang time and the lighting package on it. I also really like their SNS free spin Dragon Slayer.
Dragon Slayer.
I love it. They have the mild side and the wild side, or the knight and squire sides, but even, yes, the mild side is wild, and you just spin so much if you catch it the right way, or the weight balance. I don't know what it is, but I do love it. That was so intense and fun.
We got on a specifically wild ride, and I was not okay for the rest of the day. The amount of spinning that I did. I think Lauren and Grace were sitting across from us, and they said that I just looked like hair, like the hair in front of my face, that I just looked, they were laughing so hard.
Jessica is not exaggerating, folks. If you haven't, this is a commonly cloned model now, right? The SNS 4D free spin. But when they built Dragon Slayer, it was a slight variation from their previous design. And as they're alluding to, there literally is a side that says wild and a side that says mild. Right. And so you can choose. And if you go on the wild side, you will flip many times. There's one point in the ride we couldn't even count. I wasn't sure if we flipped 5 or 6 times continuously, but literally just a blur of the world continuously for moments as we're going through hills and flipping the whole time. I mean, it is wild. So
yeah.
You haven't quite ridden the best of the 4D free spins until you've been to Adventureland and you try out Dragon Slayer.
And I will also say that the Gerstlauer, the monster, Doug, oh my gosh. Yeah, if you're saying, was it everybody's favorite? Yes. It was unbelievable to me as a Knott's Berry Farm regular that Monster was built before Hang Time, because in my opinion, there was more hang time in Monster than there is in Hang Time. And I loved Monster. I think about Monster. And I'll never forget that moment where Derek told you that Adventureland had added on evening ERT to Monster. And I was like, what's the big deal? Talk about that, Doug.
Yeah, basically, I had been wanting to ride Monster at night for years. I know Derek had been to an Ace event a long time ago that I didn't go to. And so, yeah, on other visits, the park hadn't been open nighttime, really. So I think I kind of got to see it at dusk as I was walking away from it with all the different colorful lights and everything. But yes, and originally it was not scheduled for nighttime ERT during this event. It was going to be morning ERT, and I was a little disappointed by that. And Alex Payne, who is the PR person at the park, he said, wait a minute, we need to have Monster ERT at night. And tell them why, Doug. Well, just so cool seeing all the different lights flashing, and it makes it a different experience, I think. So I was glad I got to finally ride it at night during ERT. Got as many rides in as I could, but I was also torn because, they do have 3 wooden coasters there, which is hard to find. And we did have nighttime ERT also on Tornado. So I went on Monster a bunch of times, but then at the end of ERT, I had to get some rides in on Tornado. And the energy there, just everyone was so excited and celebrating the new Ace roller coaster landmark.
That's right. Derek, talk a little bit about that plaque.
So this was Adventureland's first Ace roller coaster landmark coaster. Like Doug said, they have 3 wooden coasters there. And Adventureland's Tornado has been roaring since the 70s. And Jimmy Tico, who was the Ace History and Preservation Director, brought up the idea of having Tornado become an Ace roller coaster landmark. And the executive committee of Ace agreed that this was a deserving coaster. It's a classic out and back. It still runs great and totally deserving of the plaque and the recognition. So Josh Brown, who's the new History and Preservation Director, he had the plaque at the park and presented it. And the parks, they seem so excited to be receiving this. It was so deserving, and it was so awesome to see everyone so happy that this coaster was acknowledged.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was so glad that we did that, because they just seemed, once again, just like a great group of people running this park, and involved in it. In fact, when we did the maintenance tour and got to meet Angela. I have to give a shout out to Angela, who just said, ask me anything, touch what go wherever you want. She was answered. There was no question that was off limits about working with different companies and what it was like working on all these different coasters. And even we were asking, it was funny because I was like, well, what do you do with all of it? It looks like there's a dumpster over here of roller coaster parts. What's happening? Oh yeah, we're just throwing those out. It's like, wait, could we connect you with someone? We could raise money for preservation for your park if you want to donate to some of that. So she was like, yeah, I'll talk to whoever. So they were just such a great group of people. And in the evening, we were able to hear from Alex Payne, who gave a presentation on the history of the park. I believe we have some of that audio. So go ahead and listen in.
Definitely an honor to be able to share the history of Adventureland with you. It's definitely a special place in my heart, growing up here in Altoona, and Adventureland has been a part of my life and helped spark the coaster enthusiast in me as well, with my first coasters being here at Adventureland. So Adventureland is huge for the state of Iowa, and thank you for coming out. And we'll give you a little short history. I could talk about Adventureland history for hours and hours and probably days. So I'm trying to cram a ton of 50 years of history into a short amount of time. I want to start out telling you a little bit about the land that Adventureland stands on. Adventureland was actually an airport in 1927. It was the first municipal airport in the state of Iowa. The city of Des Moines was looking for an airport, and this farmland near Altoona was the perfect spot. Really interesting, the Des Moines Register was the first newspaper that had a full-time pilot and airplane that they owned, and it was here at the airport. It was named the Hanna Airport or the Hanna Airfield, Altoona Airfield, had lots of names. And to dedicate it in August of 1927, Charles Lindbergh came. He flew the Spirit of St. Louis here to the site that is now Adventureland. And then that is Charles Lindbergh dedicating the airport in August of 1927. It was one of the largest gatherings of people. There would be air shows here. So this property, almost 100 years ago, was drawing people for entertainment before Adventureland was even an idea. Then a Des Moines businessman, he was a home builder, Jack Krantz, decided that he wanted to build a theme park in Iowa. He had different home building businesses over the years, and an idea he got sparked. I'll talk about that in a little bit, what inspired, but it really started with a trip to Disneyland with his family, and that kind of always stuck in his head of all the fun he had at Disneyland. Just like a lot of the different people who built amusement parks in the 1970s, late 60s, were really inspired by Disney, and Jack Krantz was one of them. What was a little bit different, he had a background, there was Riverview Amusement Park here in Des Moines, so he had known about Riverview, but it was starting to see its age, it was aging, and he wanted a theme park type experience here instead of that old Coney Island style amusement park, something to kind of complement that as well. So the idea came from seeing a large fiberglass pig on the side of the road. He was coming back from a family trip from Minnesota. He was near Manly. This is the only thing I can find from Manly that had large fiberglass pigs, was this Tom's Country Market and Musical Museum. And there's a photo from about 1971 that I found on a Facebook page of this large fiberglass pig. So I believe this may have been what it was that inspired him to build Adventureland. It started out as a small idea where he would have a large fiberglass pig like this, and he'd have his kids sell snacks and concessions out of the side of it. But like a lot of Jack's ideas, it grew from that small idea into an entire theme park resort like Disney. So we do have Petunia Pig in the park, which looks very similar to that pig. Until a few years ago, we still had snacks sold out of the side of it. It was added to tell that story of what inspired Jack to build Adventureland. The announcement for Adventureland came in the early 1971. The idea of an entire resort with a hotel, convention center, campground, and theme park all in one was that idea from the beginning. What really made Adventureland a success was Jack got lots of people who were invested across the state of Iowa, business leaders, community leaders, to come together to form a board of directors to create this idea. People who worked in lots of different industries across the state of Iowa. So those leaders could take their connections and resources to build a theme park. They wanted to make Iowa a destination and put Altoona on the map. Lots of early newspaper articles, Jack said that he saw Altoona becoming the next Anaheim. It's not quite that Disneyland style town square, but he did want a town square like that. It would be later when, after working with some people from Disney, that he did create it more like a Disney style entryway. One interesting thing about our Main Street is all the different buildings on Main Street are designed off of different buildings around Iowa. While planning and designing Adventureland, Jack and different artists and architects would travel the state of Iowa and find buildings that they liked and would sketch them out, and then they would take those sketches and implement them into the design of Main Street. So every building you see on our Main Street is designed off of a building somewhere in the state of Iowa. The first part of Adventureland was Adventureland Inn. As the hotel and campground opened, they were really instrumental in getting people here, start the cash flow to make it a profitable business so that they could actually build the theme park. So the lodging part was really instrumental in being that first part to help support the theme park. And a lot of the construction workers, I've been told, lived in the campground while they were building the theme park. The Queen is a really interesting story. Because it's an actual boat. It wasn't built for Adventureland. The Queen was a boat up on Westlake Okoboji, and it had been for sale for many years, but it was an iconic part of Iowa history. Jack Kranz's wife Jan was from the Iowa Great Lakes area, and so he, after it had been for sale for a while, he wanted a boat attraction like the Mark Twain river boat at Disneyland. So he decided, why not take this iconic piece of Iowa history and incorporate it? They made it so it would go along a track. There were lots of problems with the track. It didn't really work, and that's kind of why it really never lasted all that long, just a couple years. But the Queen was put on like a home moving type truck, and they moved it from northwest Iowa. It took 2 days to travel about 10 to 15 miles an hour over those 2 days to get it from there all the way down here. It was completely refurbished to look like it would have in the late 1800s, early 1900s. After it didn't work for a while, another boat ride was added for a few years, and then the Queen was brought back to be just a floating attraction. And then while they were remodeling it, in the mid-'80s, it actually sunk, and so the Queen is no longer an attraction. So that was a sad part, but an interesting way that trying to incorporate Iowa history. A tornado came through during construction of Adventureland in June of 1974, damaging part of the park. So that delayed the park's opening. So the park actually opened on August 16th, 1974, so 50 years ago yesterday, and it was a very short season. Because of that, the grand opening was held off until the next year on May 31st of 1975. Instead of cutting a ribbon, Adventureland wanted to do something different, so a special hot air balloon with the Adventureland logo on it was tethered, and the tether was cut instead of cutting a ribbon. And what's kind of interesting is the first year Adventureland was open, Main Street was free and open. Main Street was actually planned to be a year-round attraction where you could come to the restaurant, the arcade, and enjoy Main Street for free, and then the ticket booth was right there, right in front of where Rock and Rainbow is today. But after the first year, it was decided to make the entry where it is today. Different attractions were brought in over the years to help bring in new guests. We had a dolphin and sea lion show. And that is where Underground is located now. And if you've ridden Underground, you actually have gone over this pool twice. Now, the pool is still there. It's empty right now, but the ride was built right over the pool. Adventureland also built a stage over the pool for different acts as well. There were musical acts during some years. There was a game show from 1992 till 1994. It was actually filmed and televised and broadcast across the state of Iowa. So pretty cool area, that the space that Underground stands on. Then the big addition came in 1978 when Tornado was added. Tornado was named after the tornado that delayed Adventureland's opening. Designed and built by William Cobb, and thank you to ACE for the special recognition today. We're very honored that Tornado is now, as of today, a landmark coaster. It's definitely a special coaster to Adventureland. Tornado was so instrumental in making Adventureland a success, and still today is a popular ride for Iowans, and many across the state of Iowa and throughout the Midwest. Tornado is a special wooden roller coaster. It was a massive deal. It was the tallest roller coaster in the state of Iowa at the time. People were talking about it. It was the talk of the town. The Des Moines Register wrote many stories about it because of how it elevated the amusement park from just a small little amusement park into a major amusement park. Tornado was a huge success, and Adventureland was really put on the map because of Tornado, and Jack wanted to grow off that popularity. It made Adventureland a really profitable park, and so he wanted to come up with that next big thing. Going off that, he decided to go to Intamin because he wanted a steel roller coaster. That's what he thought was the next big thing. He brought Intamin out here, and Intamin came and saw the park and said, that's not what you need. Your log ride has a super long line. You need another ride. So Adventureland was an early park to get a rapids ride, and the Raging River was added in '93 and really solidified Adventureland as a major theme park. Going off of that, the 80s were a huge time for Adventureland, adding multiple rides almost every single year. 1985, we brought in the Galleon, which was an amazing coaster. People talked about it, but in addition to Galleon, we also got our A train, a Chance CP Huntington train, which is still here at the park. And this time, it was really important for Adventureland to really tell the story of what made it special. So it was all about how these rides are coming from all over the world. So it was bringing the fun of the world to you became Adventureland's slogan. So we had the Galleon and the balloon race from Italy. And then we also brought in the Rainbow for 1 year only in 1988. It was advertised as 1 year only, and really Jack wanted to see how popular this ride was because he was interested in buying a falling star from Chance. And the ride was so popular, he decided to buy a falling star for the 1989 season. And it's kind of crazy how fast all of this development happened throughout the 80s because in 1990, the Dragon came. Dragon was a Hopkins looping coaster, came in 1990, and it was a major coaster, Iowa's first major steel roller coaster. Jack's son, Mike Krantz, also picked out the giant Skywheel, which would come in 1991. He also was the kid that gave his dad the idea to do the game show on the stage for the 92 season. And then he also picked out the G-Force for his birthday one year. 1993 then was Adventureland's biggest expansion with Outlaw Gulch. Adventureland wanted a wooden roller coaster for this space. So they went to this new company called Custom Coasters International. They'd built one coaster before, the Kingdom Coaster at Dutch Wonderland, and they asked them to build some sort of really good roller coaster. Jack wanted a really good roller coaster, and I think they got a really good coaster, and it's become known as the prototype GCI. And Mike Boodley, who designed it, would go on to GCI and create that. And I think you coaster enthusiasts can see that kind of resemblance that Outlaw has with many GCIs today. So I think Outlaw is a beautiful coaster, and we've put a lot into it to keeping it up. Just a couple of years ago, we had the trains completely worked on by PTC. We've had a lot of retrack work done, and it still runs really great if you haven't been on it yet. And then following the success of Monster, it was obvious that people really liked roller coasters. So they decided to go in with Phoenix, a spinning coaster. That was added and it opened on July 4th of 2019. And then Dragon was showing its age and it was decided it was time to retire Dragon, and Dragon Slayer was added. A 4D free spin coaster. I think it's the best 4D free spin coaster out there. I might be biased, but if you've been on it, you probably agree. That was added in 2021. And then in 2022, Palace Entertainment acquired Adventureland from the Krantz family, and we added 9 new attractions. Our second year, we went all in adding another coaster. We decided a family coaster was one of those coasters we really needed to add to the park. So Flying Viking was added, and then we also added Draken Falls intertwined with that. And then this year we decided Underground. It's such a unique roller coaster. It's not a crazy roller coaster. It is a roller coaster. It has 2 chain lifts. It uses gravity. It has a dip. But that was brought in 1996. It was another CCI, but it's the world's only indoor wooden roller coaster. And we decided we really wanted to invest in this attraction because it's unique. It tells an Iowa story, but we wanted to embrace the storytelling. Some of the story got lost over the years, so we decided we want to embrace this story. We worked with a local company, Gaffbox, to help work on the theming and really elevate that theming. And I think they did a phenomenal job taking Underground to that next level. And I think it's a great new addition to have that elevated theming and storytelling throughout the ride.
They're all just a really great group of people all around the park. And incredible all of the preservation and maintenance that they do around this park. And yeah, in fact, let's talk about the Underground and what's going on with that.
Yeah, so the Underground is an indoor all-wooden roller coaster, and they refurbished and reimagined it for this year for their 50th anniversary. PTC created the trains for this year, and there's new theming and elements inside. And I have to ask you, as your first time riding the Underground, is it what you expected it to be?
I went in knowing basically nothing. And so everything was a surprise and unexpected. Yeah, I thought it was cool, and I liked learning some of the history about it, especially who was mentioning all of the different plaques around the park. There were so many places that you could stop and read and look at pictures. And see what things looked like. All these things I had no idea of. And it was a really cool experience to kind of go to a park and really, I specifically didn't want to learn too much before I went. And so everything was a surprise. But yeah, that was definitely a unique experience for sure. I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Yeah, I loved it before, and I love it even more now. The pre-show is so creepy and well done. I still have nightmares about it.
Love it.
I believe you. And we had some good corn. I don't know about you guys, but I had some good Iowa sweet corn while I was there as well.
Well, I had some liquor, and that was made of corn. So that's,
They had
again had tasty drinks.
They did have tasty drinks. They had a great bar and some live performers that really loved us coaster enthusiasts. So that was cool. There was also they did actually have a pretty great silent auction. We had a silent auction, I think, every day of Preservation Con. Is that right? I think we did. Every park from the weekend donated things. But that one, the Adventureland one, was particularly cool.
Yeah, and there was a total of $2,557 that were raised throughout all the auctions, which was really cool.
That's awesome. People got to walk away with some really cool stuff from those parks. So always good, always a great way to raise money. And then, of course, we get to the evening and the beautiful drone show, which I heard they switched from fireworks to drones because they had heard the park, and this is amazing, had heard that a local farm that had horses, every time they were going to have to do fireworks, they would have to tranquilize their horses. And when the park heard about this, they were like, yeah, we're not doing fireworks anymore. We're going to do a drone show. And that was why they invested in drones. I don't know if that's true, but if so, but I think that's really cool.
Again, that's a park that cares about the community. So that is really amazing to hear. And quite frankly, the drone show was great. I really enjoyed what they had to do there. It's I think if you haven't seen a drone show, it's really impressive anyway to have a huge array of drones that all fly in coordination into, really cool shapes and patterns. The park was playing music along with it, so there was theme music to go along with the images that you were seeing that were just forming in the sky. I think drone shows are really cool, newer addition to some of these parks' nighttime shows.
Yeah, I thought it was terrific too. And for all the naysayers, the horses even liked it.
Puns. You can count on the puns with the Perrys, Gerik.
I see what he did there. Yeah.
I love it. Amazing at Adventureland. Any final last thoughts about Adventureland before we move on to our final park? No.
I would just like to thank Alex Payne and everyone at the park who welcomed Ace. It was an incredible day, and we'll never forget it.
Yeah, thank you to Alex. Thank you to everybody. And what a fun full day of rides, attractions, experiences. If you've never been to Adventureland, you got to definitely check that out. And now we're getting to day 3. All the fun that we had at Worlds of Fun. If you haven't already, go ahead and listen to the previous podcast that we posted from Worlds of Fun. It was a park history presentation from Jennifer Lovesey Mass at the Tivoli Music Hall, where we also did the host park gift presentation, or I should say Derek did the host park gift presentation, which he did at every park, which was just so lovely. I love that Ace does that. So thanks to the executive committee for putting that together. But yeah, Jennifer Lovesey Mass, she runs worldsoffun.org, which is not their main website. It's a website that she runs that is just about the history of Worlds of Fun. And it is so good. And she was so knowledgeable. And we've heard a lot of park history presentations, but you could just tell that Jennifer, this is her jam. Like, this is her first love, and she knows so much, and she had such fun stories. So go back and listen to that episode. Even if you've never even heard of Worlds of Fun or you've never been there, I think that you would really love it. If you do love Worlds of Fun, then you're just going to absolutely adore all of her stories. Once again, this was my first time at Worlds of Fun. You all had been there before, I'm assuming.
Yes. I had been to Worlds of Fun maybe twice before. And you know what I thought was wonderful about this visit? Sometimes, you notice something new or different when you go in a park. I don't know that I had ever noticed how beautiful Worlds of Fun was before this visit. Or I don't know, maybe they've put a lot of extra attention into it in the last year or two, but I was really just admiring the natural beauty of the park, kind of the rolling hills, the landscaping everywhere. There's flowers everywhere. So a really beautiful park,
Really beautiful, themed to Around the World in 80 Days, film about a guy who travels in a hot air balloon. I've never seen it, if I'm being honest. I should watch it as someone who loves film. But that's what it's themed to. And they're a beautiful hot air balloon of different colors, just very unique. And then that each of the lands is a different place that you would potentially go around the world to, that you would travel around the world to. Derek, you want to tell us a little bit more about the history of Worlds of Fun?
Sure. So Worlds of Fun celebrated its 50th anniversary last year. So it's been operating since 1973. And of course, was part of Cedar Fair, now Six Flags Entertainment. And they have 3 wooden roller coasters also, which is pretty awesome. And we love Worlds of Fun. The first time we went to the park, they had the old Zambezi Zinger, the original, and their Arrow Loop or Orient Express was unfortunately closed when we were there the first time we went. But on this trip, we got a really cool opportunity. They have it as a vampire haunted house now. And we got Lore of the Vampires. And we got to walk through the queue, the old station of the coaster, even the tunnel that led to the lift hill. So that was really neat to see. Even though we never got to experience the roller coaster, we got to kind of walk through history for a little bit. And one of my favorite things about the whole weekend was Steve Berto, who was the events director for ACE and has just stepped down, but he planned the whole weekend, of course, with his events team. And he was standing outside between two of the parts of the maze. And he was like, I really want to jump out and scare people. And I said, well, why don't we do it? So we waited for ACE members to walk through. And then when we heard them coming, one of us would distract them. And then the other would jump out and scream at them. And I haven't laughed that hard in so long. So it was a great time with Steve Berto scaring people at that haunt, and he loves everything Halloween and haunted, so it was a good memory.
I cannot picture him doing, but he's such a seemingly quiet, like calm guy. That's funny. I can't picture him doing that, but I admit to someone jumping out and scaring me, and so I turned around and I scared them as well. And I want to shout out to Corey Brown for helping me do that. But yeah, that was a fun experience to go through the house with the lights on. We also got to see kind of an up close and personal walkthrough of Zambezi Zinger, which unfortunately was down for maintenance while we were there. They tried really hard to get it back up for us, but they unfortunately couldn't. But in exchange, they did give us a pretty amazing walk back tour. I mean, we were in the woods in places that, and on train tracks and places that, coaster lovers never get to go. So it was really, really fun to be back there and get that unique perspective of the lift hill and all the cool things about Zambezi. So I got to get back there and ride that for sure. Then the other walk back tour that they gave was of Mamba. This is the Morgan Hypercoaster. And, I just thought that it would be just sort of like a regular, walk back tour. But this was incredible. The vibes were high. Like everything about this walk back tour was cool. The coaster was going. Not only was Mamba going, but its next door neighbor Timberwolf was also going. And we got to kind of be right in the middle of Timberwolf, like right in the infield of that coaster. And this incredible moment happened where we're all in the infield. I mean, we only were in the infield in that section of it for, maybe 5 minutes, but maybe a little longer, but during that time, there was basically what you could consider a duel between Timberwolf and Mamba. They lined up so perfectly. We all got photos and videos. I posted mine. We were cheering, we were waving to all the people on the coaster. They knew what was happening. Like it just was such a cool, fun, like, I guess you had to kind of be there moment. Did you guys all see that? Were you there for that?
That was a special moment. That was one of the highlights of the weekend, I think. And that's why it was a bit of a surprise. We expected, as it said, a Mamba walk back. But really, as you said, when you're walking in there, you're really walking back through the world of two coasters. And to have them align so many times. And, I like to call that enthusiasts in the wild, right? We had a ton of enthusiasts. Everyone's excited. They're on their phones. They're shooting video. And to see this kind of stuff happen, people were just so excited. They're like, wow, I get to see the coasters, like you said, almost dueling. It was very cool. And
it's fun.
Shout out to Lauren Heller. Lauren hugged the support. She likes hugging supports. And she's like, oh my God, I can actually go up to a Mamba support and hug it.
Yeah. Yep, she did. Yeah, I may have copied her. But it was moments like that, like those walk back tours that just sort of remind you that you're not alone in your nerdiness for these type of things. That I was just nerding out and so enthralled at what was happening, and everybody around me was too. And I didn't feel out of place in my enthusiasm for this, And it's moments like that's why I love these ACE events, that we're all sort of, we're here for common love and goal, and we want to preserve moments like this and coaster happenings like this and parks like this, and encourage them to please let us do some behind the scene walkbacks to things that for someone who works in the park is like an everyday, all right, this is just, why would anybody want to see this? Oh, we want to see it. Why would anybody want to touch the support? We just want to
Just a little hug. Just a little hug.
And be sure to just hug the steel coasters, not the wooden coasters. You might get some splinters.
Yes, very good point. Very good point. Be careful. Be careful.
And that magical moment that you're talking about with Mamba and Timberwolf, the ACE YouTube team is getting their preservation videos ready for the YouTube channel, so that should be coming out soon, and you might be able to catch it on there.
Oh, cool. Good. I'm glad to hear that. I know a lot of us, everybody had their phones out. So I want to see all the angles. I want to see all of the footage that everybody got. Then we get a really great group photo all together and some evening ERT exclusive ride time after dinner, right? We did Prowler. Can we talk about Prowler for a second? The GCI wooden coaster at night. Prowler at night
was excellent. That was one of the highlights too. I was excited when I saw the schedule that we were having night ERT, because look, I'm a night enthusiast. For me, if parks opened at 4 p.m. and we're open till the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., great. I would go to the parks all the time.
Me too, 100%.
Yeah, because I just I love the environment. And so often, especially now post-COVID, when a lot of places had to kind of cut back on their schedules, you're not getting quite as much nighttime at the parks. But there's a certain magic at night when you're in the dark. A lot of the coasters are built in areas where now you can't see where you're going in different areas, and things are lit up. It's just, there's just a certain magic to it. And being a wooden coaster lover, anytime you can ride a wooden coaster at night, I mean, that is the best. Wooden coasters warm up throughout the day. The rides tend to get better as the day goes along. And so to have something that's been open all day long and now we go over to ride it, that was a fantastic ERT session. I rode all over that train and caught airtime in some amazing places. And that's a really fun coaster. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite night rides on any coaster, going out into the woods so dark. But you have to remember to close your eyes on that second hill when the camera starts flashing.
That's a good pro tip. That's a good pro tip.
Close your eyes for the strobe. But yeah, there was so much energy. And like Doug was saying at Adventureland with Tornado, there was so much energy during that ERT. And I remember Jess Nemec started the tornado dance where she was moving her hands in the air like a tornado that got the whole train going. She started on Prowler, claws up in the air. So we were doing the claws as we exited the station. Yeah, it was so much fun. A great end of the weekend. And
we also had Mamba ERT that evening. Let's not forget to mention that.
That's right.
That was excellent as well. And that came almost right after the tour. The tour was late in the evening, so people were already kind of high on seeing that ride from so many different angles in the infield. And then we went right into an ERT session on it. And I'll say this. I did not know. I think I had, when I first rode Mamba, it had trim brakes and a mid-course brake run that would stop you. In the last year or two, they have transitioned where they do not run the trim brakes or the mid-course. And that ride is hauling.
Yeah.
It is. If you haven't, so I'm saying now, if you haven't ridden Mamba in the last couple of years, go back to Worlds of Fun, give it another shot, because that's a really powerful and fun hyper. There's some of the best rides I've ever had on that ride were at this ERT session.
Oh, that first half with the airtime floating. Yeah, so good. Wow. Oh, yeah. So good.
It was really good.
And good. Just a shout out to Worlds of Fun. Thank you for the ices, the unlimited ices at night too.
Yes.
That was great. And just a great way to close out an absolutely incredible weekend. I want everybody to give their final thoughts on the weekend. Shout outs. Doug, do you want to start?
Yeah, the parks, those are a few of my favorite parks. And then to visit them with Acers, I think I'd only been at an Ace event at Worlds of Fun years ago, like 2016 or something. I don't know when it was, but with other Acers at Worlds of Fun. So it's like so awesome being with all our Ace friends and family, riding all these coasters and celebrating them all. And then them giving us a reason to go back next year for those who haven't been on Zambezi Zinger. But yeah, I loved the whole weekend, and it was so well done. And it was a great last national event for Steve Burdo to work on. He, has worked over 10 years
on the events, and this was just a perfect one for him to go out on such a high note.
Derek?
Yeah, I agree. Steve and the whole events committee did an excellent job. All the volunteers who donated their time that weekend and leading up to it, setting everything up. Hats off to all of you. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Brian McGannon at Worlds of Fun and his whole team were excellent. I loved visiting the parks, and like Doug said, with all our ACE friends and making new ACE friends, it was an unbelievable weekend.
And Gerik?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It was a really wonderful event. And I will suggest to anyone, like I said, Lost Island, that was my first time. I really suggest, if you have not been to one of the parks before, do an event for your first visit. You will feel like a VIP, you'll learn things and be able to appreciate a park even more, and get extra access to these rides, right? So I really enjoyed the event, the ERT sessions, the tours, the wonderful treatment from all of our hosts, and of course the people. You know, we talk a lot about the coasters and the rides, but that's part of being in the club is, like you said, that just imagine the energy was so wonderful, like during those ERT sessions, during the walkback tours, to be around so many other people who have the same passion as you is always exhilarating. So I really enjoyed it. Look forward to another Preservation Con.
Me too. I can't wait to hear where we're going next year. Do we already know, Derek, or do we not know yet? When do we find out?
Good question. I believe Dan Jones is in talks with some parks, and we should find out hopefully in the next couple months where we're headed.
Oh, I can't wait. So first, I want to say to all of you, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and talking with me about Preservation Conference, especially to you, Gerik. Thank you so much. And Gerik, we would love to have you on the podcast team. Just saying, we'd love to have you hanging out with us more here on the podcast. So please keep that in mind. What do you think?
Well, I appreciate that invitation, and I think I may take you up on that.
Yay!
Yeah, no, I had a great time talking with you guys, and I'm always happy to promote this really unique and cool hobby that we have. So.
Thank you. Thank you. And to all of you listening, you don't want to miss any of the events that we have coming up. So don't forget to check the website, ridewithace.com. And remember that ACE is everywhere you consume your social media. Facebook, X, Threads, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Make sure you're subscribed to ACE's pages on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. Follow ACE everywhere and stay on top of all the coaster and park news coming out, and to hear what your ACE membership has to offer. If you haven't joined ACE yet, what are you waiting for? Did you know that you can even gift memberships to others? We hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, we would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast. Give us 5 stars if you can, rate and review. And if you have any questions, comments, or podcast episode pitches for us, please reach out to podcast@aceonline.org. Thanks for listening. Hope you get to ride a coaster today.
Ride With Us is produced by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, a registered 501c3 organization. Visit ridewithace.com for additional information, and we will see you at the parks.